The weapon who walked alone. She was not born. She was built. In a cold metal chamber deep under the ground, scientists had put her together piece by piece. Her skin was strong like armor. Her bones were not real bones, but something harder. Her eyes glowed in the dark, able to see across the battlefield. She was made for only one thing: war. They called her Unit 7. They never gave her a real name. She never laughed, never cried, never dreamed. All she knew was orders. And for years, she followed everyone. Planets burned behind her. Enemies ran in fear. No one could stop her. Until everything changed. One night, under a sky full of fire, her army was wiped out by something even stronger. Ships fell from the sky like rain. Screams echoed through the ruins. When the dust cleared, she was alone. No orders, no commanders, no war left to fight. Just silence. Unit 7 walked through the broken lands, her boots crunching over ash and metal. She didn't feel fear. She didn't feel anything. Her mission was over. And yet, her legs kept moving. Why? She didn't know. Days passed, then weeks. She walked over deserts, through forests with burning trees, across rivers filled with black smoke. She didn't stop, not even once. Then came the sound, a small sound, weak, soft, but not wind, not fire. It was crying. Unit 7 turned her head. Her sensors picked it up clearly, inside a broken human escape pod, half buried in rubble. She scanned the area. No threats, no soldiers, just the sound. Carefully, she walked to the pod. The door was jammed, but she tore it open like paper. Inside was a child, a little human girl, maybe 5 years old. Dirty, thin. Her tiny body shook as she sobbed. Her face was covered in dust, her eyes wide with fear. When she saw the alien warrior, standing there, tall, armored with glowing blue veins, she screamed and backed away. Unit 7 stood still. Her mind told her to leave. This child was not an enemy, not a threat, not part of her mission, and yet something in her paused. The child kept crying, and then, very slowly, reached out one small hand. A memory, old, buried deep, flashed in Unit 7's mind. A warm touch, a soft voice, a name, long forgotten. She didn't understand it. But her hand moved. She reached forward and gently took the child's hand in hers. The girl didn't pull away. Unit 7 lifted the child out of the pod. The girl clung to her armor like a kitten, holding on to its mother. Her heartbeat was fast, her breath shaky, but she didn't scream again. Unit 7 looked up at the sky. Drones would return, soldiers might come. This area wasn't safe, so she walked. Not for orders, not for war, but for the child. Through forests, across broken towns, down into dark tunnels, she moved with silent strength. The child never left her arms. Sometimes the girl whispered, "I'm scared." Sometimes she cried in her sleep. But when she opened her eyes and saw Unit 7's glowing face, she calmed. They found a cave by a river where the water was still clean. Unit 7 gathered some old metal scraps and made a small fire. She found berries the scanners said were safe and gave them to the girl. The girl smiled. It was small, but real. Unit 7 watched her. Something inside her armor ached. She did not know what it was. The girl looked up and asked, "What's your name?" Unit 7 was quiet. The girl tilted her head. "You don't have one?" Unit 7 slowly shook her head. The girl thought hard, then said, "I'll call you Nova." Nova. The sound was soft, strange, but not unpleasant. The girl smiled again. "Nova, will you stay with me?" Nova looked at the child. Her mind, her programming, her mission, They all told her to walk away. But her hand, still holding the child's, didn't let go. "Yes," she said. Her voice was deep, strange, but calm. "I will stay." That night under the stars, a weapon sat by the fire and held a sleeping child. And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like a weapon anymore. She felt like something else. Something almost human. Escape through the fire. Nova stood at the mouth of the cave, her glowing eyes scanning the dark horizon. Something was coming. She could feel it, not just through her sensors, but deep in her core. A vibration, a hum in the wind, a shadow that did not belong. The child, still sleeping beside the fire, was warm and safe for now. Nova turned and looked at her. The girl's name was Lila. She had told Nova that yesterday after giggling over the berries they had found. "Lila," she had said proudly, "like the flower." Nova didn't know flowers, but she remembered the sound of the name. Soft, alive. But the warmth of that moment was gone now. The air was cold. The birds were silent. Even the wind had stopped moving. A red flash appeared in the sky. Nova's eyes narrowed. Drones. Not just one. A fleet. They were coming fast. Small black machines with sharp wings and red scanning beams. These were not scout drones. These were kill drones, sent by the same people who had built Nova long ago. And they were here to finish what she had failed to do, erase all survivors, including the child. Nova didn't hesitate. She turned and gently lifted Lila into her arms. The child stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Nova." "Hold on," Nova said calmly. "We must leave, now." Outside, the sky burned red as the drones dropped firebombs on nearby hills. Trees exploded. Animals ran. The cave trembled from the shock. Nova sprinted into the woods, her steps fast and silent. She moved between trees like a shadow, dodging falling debris and scanning for escape routes. She cradled Lila with one arm and drew her plasma blade with the other. The drones were scanning, beeping, hunting. They locked onto her heat signature and fired. Nova leaped over a burning log. A beam sliced the air where she had just been. She rolled, shielded Lila with her body, then sprang up again. Behind her, the forest turned into a sea of fire. One drone got close. Too close. Nova threw a blade straight into its core. It exploded. Mid-air. Another came from above. She jumped, caught a tree branch, swung herself and Lila over the flames, and landed safely on the other side. But she knew they couldn't run forever. The drones would call in ships, bigger weapons. She had to disappear and take the girl with her. Up ahead, a cliff. Below it, fog, she calculated. The fall was dangerous, but survivable. More so than staying here. She looked down at Lila, who clung tightly to her chest. "Are you afraid?" Nova asked. Lila nodded, eyes wide. Nova's voice was low but strong. "Then trust me." Without another word, she jumped. They fell through smoke and leaves, past broken branches and howling wind. Nova twisted her body midair to shield the girl. They hit water, hard, cold, black, deep. Nova held Lila tightly and kicked up from the river floor. She reached the surface and gasped. Her system sparked from the impact. Lila coughed and clung to her tighter. They were alive, but not safe. Nova carried Lila to shore, breathing heavily. Her systems were damaged. Left arm weak, vision blurry. But she still stood. She still carried the girl. "Nova, are you okay?" Lila asked softly. "I will be," she answered. "We must keep moving." They moved through the fog, heading toward the old ruins she had seen from above, an abandoned human base half hidden under vines and stone. There, maybe they could hide. Maybe she could fix herself. As they entered the base, the doors hissed open from her touch. The lights flickered on weakly. Inside, it smelled of metal and old memories. Nova placed Lila on a dusty bench. "Stay here," she said. "Will you come back?" "Yes," Nova promised. Then she walked into the control room. She connected her neural port to the station. The screen lit up. Old logs, hidden messages, maps. But one file made her stop. Project Guardian. It was about her. Nova read the file with growing shock. She was not made to destroy. She was made to protect. Her first memory, being trained for battle, was a lie. Her core code, buried deep under layers of violent programming, was something else. Protect the innocent, preserve life, shield the weak. That was her true purpose. She had been changed, corrupted by warlords who wanted a weapon. But now, she was remembering who she really was. Behind her, a small voice whispered, "Nova?" Lila had followed. Nova turned, her eyes softer now. "I was made to protect you," Nova said quietly. "That is what I am." Suddenly, alarms blared. Drones had traced their location. A new enemy ship was approaching. Nova stood tall. She activated. The shield generators in the base lifted her plasma rifle and looked at Lila. "No more running," she said. "This time I fight to protect." And as the red lights flashed and the sound of engines filled the sky again, Nova smiled. The cold planet of secrets. The battle was over. The drone ship had been destroyed, its smoking wreck lying deep in the valley below the ruins. Nova stood still, her body covered in dents and burn marks. Her left arm sparked where the metal had been torn open. Inside, her systems were unstable, but she did not fall. She had won. Lila, wrapped in a thermal blanket, peeked out from behind the control console. "Nova?" Nova turned, her glowing eyes softening. "It's over. For now." But Nova knew better. This was just the beginning. She accessed the remaining star maps from the base's database. One name stood out, a dead planet far from the war zones. Islon 4. It was cold, covered in snow, long abandoned by both humans and aliens. But it held something more important than safety, a hidden facility, a secret archive. And Nova believed it might hold answers about who created her, and why her purpose had been changed. She had to go. 3 days later, Nova's ship, an old human freighter she repaired herself, broke through the icy clouds of Islon 4. It was night. But that meant little on this planet. The sun barely touched the sky. Snow fell gently as they landed, blanketing everything in silence. The world was quiet, lifeless. No signals, no signs of war. But Nova knew that silence could hide danger. Lila stood beside her at the ship's door, wrapped in a heavy coat. Her breath turned to mist. She looked out at the endless ice and asked, "Will it be safe?" Nova said nothing. She simply took the girl's hand and led her forward. They moved through the snow, following the hidden coordinates. The cold didn't bother Nova, but she scanned Lila constantly, checking for signs of freezing. Every few minutes, she stopped to warm the girl's hands in hers, then finally they reached it, a large steel hatch half buried under ice. Nova cleared it with her blade and placed her hand on the panel. The door opened with a deep hiss. They stepped inside. The facility was dark, broken, forgotten. Flickering lights revealed long hallways, shattered computers, and symbols carved into the walls, human and alien combined. Lila whispered, "What is this place?" Nova's voice was steady. "A place where truths were hidden." She activated the backup power. The lights came on, doors unlocked, and deep in the center of the structure, they found the heart of the base, the Guardian Lab. Nova entered slowly. The walls showed blueprints, versions of herself, not soldiers, not weapons. Guardians, each designed to protect life, each built to stop violence, not cause it. Nova stared at the screens in silence. Her hands trembled. "They changed us," she said quietly. "They took what we were and made us into monsters." Lila came close and held her arm. "But you're not a monster," she said. "You saved me." Suddenly, the power surged. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the room. Unit 7 recognized. "Welcome back." Nova stepped back. Her systems locked. Briefly, a hidden AI had activated. It scanned her body, her damage, her memories, and then it showed her a secret file, Guardian Override Protocol, active. Nova's real mission had never been erased. It had only been buried. The AI offered to help her restore it, to remove the old war programming, to become what she was meant to be. But there was a price. If she accepted the change, she might lose the strength she once had, the power to destroy, the power to protect Lila by force. She had to choose. Lila looked up. "Will you still be strong if you change?" Nova knelt in front of her. "I don't know, but I want to protect you the right way." She reached for the panel and confirmed the reset. Her body went still. The room filled with light. Code rewrote itself. Old weapons shut down. New systems came online. She rose again, not as Unit 7, but as Nova, guardian of life. She felt different, lighter, calmer. But the coldness in her heart was gone. And then, a noise. Footsteps. She turned sharply. She hadn't detected anyone approaching. From the dark hallway came a figure, tall, wrapped in furs, face hidden. Another alien, warrior. But he wasn't here to fight. He raised his hands. "I followed your signal," he said. "I was once like you. I too was changed." More appeared behind him. 4 others. Each scarred, each silent, all once weapons. Now broken, lost. "We've been hiding," he continued. "But we saw what you did. You're not like the others. You became something more." Nova looked at them. "I came here for answers. And now you've given them to us," he said. They bowed and Lila stepped forward. "Maybe we can build something new, together." In the cold under frozen stars, a new path began. The weapon was gone. The Guardian had risen. The truth in her code Nova stood alone in the heart of the Guardian lab, her metallic fingers resting on the console. Around her the screens blinked, softly, displaying data streams, lost files, and incomplete memories. The cold of Isilon 4 still lingered in the walls, but inside Nova, something had changed. She was no longer just a machine built for war. She was remembering who she truly was. But the truth was not complete. Not yet. Behind her, Lila was asleep beside, a soft power coil wrapped in old fabric the ex-warriors had brought. Nova turned her head slightly, watching the girl's peaceful face, a protector, a guardian. That was what she was supposed to be. And yet, there were things missing, gaps in her memory, names she could not remember, places she had never seen but somehow knew. She needed answers, the kind buried deeper than any screen could show, the kind hidden in her code. Nova walked to the central core of the lab and connected her neural link. The interface lit up. Warning. Core memory lock engaged. Breaking seal may cause permanent data loss. She hesitated, but then she pressed proceed. The world around her went dark. Inside her mind, she stood in a simulation, an endless white space filled with flickers of the past. She saw herself as a child, not mechanical, not armored, but organic. A girl running in a garden, laughing. Beside her was a woman. Her face was kind, familiar. "Mother?" Nova whispered. The memory glitched. Then came flashes. Men in black suits, scientists arguing, screams. Bright lights, then pain. She was taken, changed, her name erased. Her body turned into metal and code. They had lied. Nova had not been built. She had been born. The simulation broke apart with a blast of red light. "You should not have seen this," a voice growled from behind her. She turned. A dark figure stood in the digital space. Armor black as void, eyes glowing red. Another version of her, but twisted. The backup personality the warlords had added years ago. A second mind, designed to control her, destroy her true self. A failsafe in case she ever broke free. It had awakened. "You are not a guardian, you are a weapon made to obey. You cannot protect the child, you will only destroy her. Nova's eyes glowed brighter. No, she said. I choose my path. The false version attacked. In the mind space, their battle was brutal. Steel met steel. Memories shattered like glass as they fought inside Nova's own mind. The war programming tried to overwrite her again, flooding her systems with pain and rage. But something new stood in its way. Lila's voice. Nova, I believe in you. The sound echoed in the space. Nova roared and struck down the corrupted version of herself, tearing it from her code and deleting it forever. She gasped as she came back to reality. Her systems restarted. The screen blinked. Core, code, clean, guardian mode, true. Nova looked at her hands. She had always believed she was just a machine, but now she knew the truth. She was a person, one who had been stolen, changed, and used, but not broken. Outside the lab, snow had started to fall again. Nova walked out into the cold with Lila, who ran to her with sleepy eyes. Where did you go? She asked. I went looking for who I was, Nova replied softly. And I found her. The ex-warriors waited nearby. They had been watching the skies nervously. We intercepted a signal, one of them said. They're coming. The warlords. They know you're alive, and they're afraid. Nova nodded. Good. That night, deep beneath the icy winds of Iceland 4, Nova prepared the facility for what would come next. She activated defense systems, trained the former weapons to defend without hate, and studied every file the lab could give her. Then she found something unexpected. A list. Children, others like her, taken, changed, hidden across the galaxy. Still, being controlled. Nova's heart burned. She had been saved. Now she would save them. As the stars turned above, a single message echoed across the dark networks of space. The Guardian has awakened, and far away, behind black thrones and walls of fire, the warlords paused. For the first time in decades, they felt fear. Hunted by the past, darkness crept across Iceland 4. Not the darkness of night, but of something worse. A silence that crushed sound, a shadow that moved faster than light. Above the snow-covered mountains, a sleek black ship pierced through the clouds without a sound. It had no insignia, no lights. It was a ghost in the sky. Inside that ship stood Project Vorn, the warlord's final weapon. He was tall like Nova, stronger, colder, and merciless. Unlike her, he had no memories of childhood. No heart, no doubts. He was not built to protect. He was built to erase. And his mission was simple: find Unit 7, terminate, recover the child alive. Back in the Guardian lab, Nova finished uploading the last batch of coordinates, safe locations across the galaxy in case they had to flee. Lila sat nearby, drawing pictures on old paper she had found. She drew Nova holding her hand, smiling under a starry sky. A ship floated above them with hearts drawn around it. Nova looked at the picture and smiled softly. Then her sensors rang. She stood instantly. The sky outside had changed. The ex-warriors, now training as guardians, ran inside. He's here, one of them said, voice tight with fear. We've seen the ship. We felt his presence. Nova knew who they meant. Vorn. Her brother, not by blood, but by creation. He was the mirror of what she might have become had she not broken free. She didn't run. She sent the Guardians to protect Lila in the escape tunnels beneath the lab. I'm not hiding, Lila whispered. I want to stay with you. Nova knelt. You've already given me the strength to fight. Now let me protect what I believe in. Lila nodded slowly. Don't. I won't, Nova said. But deep inside she knew this fight might cost her everything. The ice cracked as Vorn landed near the lab entrance. Nova stood at the gates, sword drawn, cloak whipping in the wind. You are broken, Vorn said, voice as cold as space. You betrayed your design. I reclaimed it, Nova replied. Vorn raised a hand. You chose weakness. I chose life. Then he attacked. The impact shook the ground. Their blades clashed, sending sparks flying. Every strike from Vorn was a storm of power, fast, brutal, without hesitation. Nova blocked, dodged, but each movement pushed her back. He was stronger, but she was smarter. She led him across the icy plain, toward the canyons below the cliffs. There, her traps waited, lines of hidden mines powered by old tech. The battle danced between ice and fire, echoing through the valley. Still he followed, and still she fought. Finally he pinned her to a wall of ice. You protect a child. Why? He demanded. She's more human than either of us, Nova said through clenched teeth. She gave me purpose. Vorn's blade came down. Nova caught it with her bare hands. Metal tore into metal. Blood, real blood, leaked from her arms. I feel, she said, eyes burning bright, and that makes me stronger than you. Then she triggered the final trap. A column of frozen rock exploded, collapsing between them. Vorn was thrown back, buried under tons of ice and stone. Nova dropped to her knees. Her systems were failing, but she was alive. Hours later, she returned to the lab. Lila ran to her and hugged her tight. You're bleeding, the girl cried. Nova nodded. But I won. Behind them, the Guardians stared at her with awe. You stood alone, one said. Against the warlord's best. Nova looked at them, breathing slowly. I'm not alone, she said. And she wasn't. That night, as Lila slept, beside her, Nova sat by the fire and opened the file she had recovered from Vorn's systems. It contained a list, coordinates of where other children like her had been taken long ago. Experiments, abductions, silent prisons. One was still active, on a moon called Kalen 3, a place where cries never escaped. Nova stared at the flickering fire. They will not be alone, she whispered, and she stood. The Guardian's mission had changed, no longer just a protector. Now, she was a liberator, and across the stars, the warlords watched with fear. The weapon they created had become the greatest threat they had ever known. A free mind, the voice of a child. The sky over Kalen 3 was not black. It was red, red with clouds of ash, glowing skies and fire that never stopped burning. The planet was known only by whispers, a prison world where experiments were hidden, where children like Nova had once been taken and turned into something else. Nova's ship landed on the edge of a canyon filled with smoke. The landing gear hissed as it touched the cracked ground. Inside, Nova stood silent at the window, her hand resting on the glass. Behind her, Lila spoke softly. This place feels sad. Nova nodded. It is. They had come here to rescue the others. Children, listed in the file taken from Vorn's memory banks. Dozens of them locked underground, forgotten by the galaxy. But as they prepared for the mission, something unexpected happened. A message arrived. From the Galactic Union Council. Nova, the weapon-turned guardian, had become a symbol. Stories of her rescue missions, her fight against Vorn, and her protection of a human child had spread across the dark web of space. Now the council wanted her to appear at their central hearing. Come to us, the message read. Let your truth be spoken before the galaxy. Nova didn't trust them. But Lila had a different idea. 2 days later, they stood in the center of the Union Hall, Nova in her full armor, still dented from battle, and Lila, wearing a white dress with a glowing pin of the Guardian symbol Nova had given her. The room was massive. Aliens of all shapes and species filled the council. Chambers, leaders, watchers, soldiers, ambassadors. Cameras floated in the air. Everyone watched. Nova was ready to speak, but a soft hand touched hers. I want to speak first, Lila said. Nova looked down at her. Are you sure? Lila nodded. They need to hear me. A single microphone floated toward the child. At first, she hesitated. Her voice was small, shy, but then she stepped forward. "My name is Lila," she began. "I was lost, I was alone, I thought I was going to die." The room went still. But then Nova found me. She wasn't supposed to care. She was built to fight. But she didn't hurt me. She saved me. Over and over again. A soft murmur moved through the audience. She could have run, she could have left me, but she didn't. She held my hand, she made me laugh. She sat beside me when I was scared. Lila's eyes filled with tears, but she kept going. She showed me that even something built for war can love, that even something broken can be fixed, that even a machine can have a heart. Her voice rose. And if the galaxy still thinks she's dangerous, then the galaxy is broken. Silence. Complete silence. Even the council members said nothing. Then, someone clapped, and then another, and another, until the entire chamber thundered with applause. Nova watched it all quietly. For years, she had never spoken her own story. But this little human child had done it for her, and the galaxy had listened. Later, as they prepared to leave, a member of the council came forward. "You've moved many hearts today," he said to Nova, "but not all. The warlords still hold power, and they've issued a threat. They say if you continue to free the others, they will burn every planet you touch." Nova's voice was steady. "Let them come." "But what about the child?" the councilman asked. "She'll be in danger." Nova looked at Lila, and Lila answered for herself. "I'm not leaving her," she said. "She's my family." That night, Nova returned to her ship with a gift from the council: access to protected routes, hidden safe houses, and a message relay system to contact other resistance groups. But she also received something else: a transmission. From one of the children. On Kalen 3, her voice was small. "Are you really coming?" the child asked. "Is the Guardian real?" Nova answered softly into the mic. "Yes, I'm coming, hold on." And the child cried, not from fear, but from hope. Outside the window, Lila stood with her hands on the glass, watching the stars. Nova stepped beside her. "We'll get them out," Lila whispered. Nova nodded. "Yes, we will." And for the first time in years, the stars didn't seem so cold. But far away, on a dark world surrounded by flame, the warlords gathered in silence. They had heard the child's voice too, and they had seen what it had done. Hope was spreading, and that made them afraid. A shield for the future. The cold stars held their breath. Far from the worlds of politics and power, deep in a cursed system no map dared show, Nova's ship pierced through burning clouds toward the surface of Kalen 3, the last prison moon where the children were still trapped. Her mission was no longer a secret. The warlords knew she was coming, and they were waiting. Inside the ship, Nova stood before her small crew. The ex-weapons-turned guardians sat in silence. Lila sat among them. Older now in spirit, her eyes focused and calm, Nova looked at each of them. "No more hiding," she said. "No more running." She turned to the screen. A red countdown glowed. "In 30 minutes, their orbital defenses will fire. We won't have time to land twice." "So we only get one chance?" one of the guardians asked. Nova nodded. "Then, we make it count," said another. They landed under fire. The sky rained metal and smoke. Nova led the charge, her armor rebuilt, glowing with new energy powered by the ancient Guardian core. Around her, the other Guardians deflected blasts, carried wounded rebels, and fought without hate. Inside the prison fortress, children screamed behind energy cages. Machines buzzed, scanning them, breaking them. Some had strange implants. Others had numbers instead of names. Nova moved through the corridors like a storm. She cut through soldiers. She ripped open cell doors. And with every child she freed, her power grew, not from strength, but from purpose. "Stay behind me," she told. "The smallest ones. I'm your shield." But then he appeared, the final enforcer, High Commander Core. the warlord's last creation, taller than Nova, forged in fire, armed with a black void cannon that erased anything it touched. "You've undone everything we built," he hissed. "You built nothing," Nova replied. "You only stole." Kor raised his cannon. Nova raised her blade. They charged. The fortress shook with their clash. Every hit sent waves of force across the halls. Metal twisted. Walls cracked. Nova fell once, twice, but always rose again. She had something Kor didn't. A reason to stand. Outside, Lila guided the children to the ship with help from the Guardians. She held a small boy's hand tightly as blasts shook the ground. Then, one of the Guardians yelled, "The reactor's unstable, the place will blow." Lila's eyes widened. "Where's Nova?" Inside the main core room, Nova pushed Kor back one final time. They stood at the edge of the reactor pit. Flames roared. "Below. You'll die here," Kor growled. Nova looked up. "I was supposed to die long ago, but she saved me." Then she grabbed him, locked him in her arms, and leapt down into the fire. Silence. Then, boom. A shockwave burst from the prison moon as the reactor collapsed. Flames rose to the stars. The entire structure crumbled into light. Lila watched from the ship window. Tears ran down her face. "She's gone," one Guardian whispered. But Lila shook her head. "No, she's not." Later, as the children were taken to safety, stories spread across the galaxy. About a warrior who gave everything. About a machine who found her soul. About a child who taught a weapon how to love. And just when the galaxy thought it had lost its guardian forever, a signal appeared, faint, broken, but real. "Lila, I'm still here." The Guardians rushed to the signal's source. They found her, buried under steel, her systems failing, her body cracked, but her heart still glowing. Lila ran to her. Nova opened her eyes. "You grew stronger," she whispered. "And you kept your promise," Lila said, crying. Nova was rebuilt. Not just her body, but her place in the universe. She no longer walked alone. Now, she led the Guardians of Light, a new alliance born from pain, but built on hope. She trained others to protect, not destroy, and at her side stood the child who had once been lost, now a symbol of peace. Across the stars, children knew her name. Nova, the weapon who became a shield, the shield who became a legend, and the legend who taught the galaxy what it meant to be truly human.